now go to Roger Stone. He was former senior strategic advisor for Donald Trump and informal advisor now. What, Roger, can you put in perspective? There's some pretty bold headlines in Huffington Post, Politico, New York Times, Breitbart, Drudge, go across the board of, New York massacre, knockout punch. Is that overstating it, or what happened in New York yesterday?
Well, given the fact that that Connecticut, the most Republican part of Connecticut, is in the New York media market, and that is also true of the upcoming New Jersey. The largest part of New Jersey, about 70% of New Jersey voters are in the New York media market. This is a win that has impact on several of the bordering states. So it does magnify the win. This was a massacre, particularly in view of the fact that Trump spent very little resources. In other words, this was once again Donald Trump himself campaigning across the upstate area, hitting places like Watertown on a very strategically clever operation to target congressional districts based on some sophisticated polling. So we saw kind of a new sophistication in the Trump campaign that we haven't seen previously, and I really attribute this to a couple things. First of all, the emergence of Paul Manafort, who is a professional, who has vast presidential campaign experience. Secondarily, a first-rate local operation. Carl Palladino is a brawler, man. He knows his stuff upstate. John Haggerty, who was really their chief strategist, and a very sharp press operation by Mike Caputo. So these guys know what they're doing. It was a big, big win, and I think it puts Ted Cruz at a real disadvantage going forward on these upcoming contests. And that, in turn, could give them a head of steam going into California.
You know Kellyanne Conway very well. She's going to follow you here.
Friend of mine.
Buddy of yours. She's going to follow in a second. What do you think? Kellyanne runs the super PAC. She's chief strategist. You've known her for many decades. Do you think today, as because Cruz has got some very smart people around him, I do believe they're kind of surprised, if not shocked, about the 0 delegates, and I don't think they were prepared about how organized Trump was the first time he actually showed a ground game. If you're inside Cruz headquarters today and see this thing that just happened last night that kind of caught you off balance, and you're looking at Connecticut, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, what do you do?
Well, I think that you start focusing on California because this is Trump country. I mean, this is the most natural.
But can you do that? Because then the media just bury you. I mean, don't you have 8 days of just relentless? You can't win big states. You're a regional candidate. Can you really afford to do that?
Is that all those things are true.
Why do you say they're true? He's actually won in Wisconsin. He's proven he can broaden his message out, hadn't he?
He had a machine in Wisconsin. Let's see how he does in the northeastern states. I don't think he has much appeal there, and I also don't. There wasn't evidence that he put the kind of resources and time into New York that, say, Kasich did. So this is actually maybe a bigger blow to him. He needs to break through somewhere. You weren't surprised by
You weren't surprised, Roger, by the 25% of Kasich. Didn't you think that was a lot better than you would forecast or other people thought?
Delegates, no delegates.
Yeah,
that was the fundamental problem.
The 3 delegates. It looks like he's going to get 3 delegates. Is Trump going to get 91 or 92 delegates now?
From John Lindsay's old congressional district. How appropriate. No, I think the guy's got to win some. He's got to win some delegates somewhere. He's got to win a substantial number of delegates somewhere. Now, I think the pressure really is on Cruz now. It's a very, very narrow path going forward. And going back, if I may, to the previous caller, I really wonder whether Ted Cruz demonstrated that he has the temperament to be president last night with Sean Hannity. I don't want my president blowing up like that. I want the guy with his finger on the button snapping like that. That's problematic.
Well, do you think that Senator Cruz's point is that a lot of this discussion of saying that they're coups or all this nefarious activity is, he said, hey, Sean, you're asking a question like a hardcore Trump supporter. Do you believe that question, that statement's out of line?
Speaks directly to probably the most significant factor in this election, and that is voters are upset what they see as a broken system. They equate this with Congress. You folks don't do anything straight. It's all double talk. You tell us one thing, you do something else. Even as Trump likes to say, you talk and talk, but you really do nothing. So no, I think it's an entirely legitimate issue about whether the process is fair. By the way, it worked well for Dwight Eisenhower, because that was his argument going into the 1950s.
And he actually had some credential fights. Actually got to change the denominator that he won. Before I let you go, Roger, about Trump the Trump campaign and the Trump organization as a learning organization, and Donald Trump as a guy that just needs more reps, or as we say in sports. It was a pretty quick. Is this Manafort? Is it really having this type of impact on the campaign? Because the candidate we saw this week was very different than the candidate we saw before. Wasn't going out and doing all the media, even some of the marginal media people saw him doing Wisconsin and other places. Very disciplined. Last night was stuck to script. It was Senator Cruz. It was trying to be more presidential. They had done some, it looked like even polling, because they were quite strategic about where they went out throughout the state. Is this going to be more emblematic of what the campaign is going forward, or is this just because it happened to be New York and he's a favorite son and he just knew the territory?
No, I think that is the case. I think Paul Manafort brings a breadth of experience, and he's an adult, and he's actually elected presidents. And I don't think there's anybody better at campaign organization, or probably convention organization and strategy. So if the Sharpies in the party thought that they were going to take these naive but enthusiastic Trumpsters to the cleaners in Cleveland, that's not going to happen.
Last thing is, and I realize it's just the morning after, but this mini Super Tuesday next week, what is your initial forecast? We're going to obviously have you on the show a couple times before then, but right now, as you look towards this Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, and Maryland, how do you think that's going to break down for Trump versus Kasich and Cruz?
This is Trump country. Delaware, of course, is winner take all, small but not insignificant in terms of the count. I spoke to someone on the governor of Maryland staff yesterday. He tells me that it's Trump country as far as they can see. The governor there may be reassessing his previous position that he was staying out of this. Not that he would endorse somebody, but he's gone so far as to say that he wasn't sure he could support Trump if he was the nominee. You're going to see this same phenomena you're going to see in Baltimore of Democrats being unhappy that they can't vote in the Republican primary. They're going to show up in droves, I predict, and be turned away because they're not allowed to vote under the state party rules. No, I think you're coming, as I said earlier, into a period here that this is Trump's backyard. This is where he's expected to do well. Ted Cruz won Oklahoma. It's next to Texas, but this is kind of in many ways the same phenomena.
Roger Stone, senior strategic advisor for Donald Trump and informal advisor today, one of the great minds in the political operatives and strategists. Roger, thank you so much for getting up early and joining us on Breitbart News Daily.
Great to be here. It's a great day.